Dysfunctional families can have a significant impact on both children and adults. For example, emotional neglect, a common trait in dysfunctional families, affects about 18.4% of children, leading to increased risks of depression and feelings of shame. Studies have shown that growing up in such environments can lead to low self-esteem, difficulty forming healthy relationships, and even perpetuating dysfunction in future generations.
There is a famous quote by Desmond Tutu that reads, "You don't choose your family. They are God's gift to you, as you are to them." End of quote. For many persons, this quote is true and real, but for many of us, many persons like me, it is not. My name is Gloria, and welcome to Dr. Sheba's Sunday Spirit. I read this quote and I scoff at it because in many ways this has not been my reality. I have read a lot over recent times and done a lot of reflective and meditative work on my life, present life and past life, and recently had to call a close cousin of mine. She lives in the United Emirates. And I said to her, OMG, how did we survive our childhood?
Dear Divine, I come to you with a heavy heart, seeking peace and strength amidst the chaos and pain within my family. I know no family is perfect, but sometimes the hurt feels too overwhelming. I ask for your comfort and protection as I navigate these difficult relationships. Help me, God, to see beyond the anger and confusion to the love that I know you intended for families to share. Give me the wisdom to understand that people act out of their wounds and that their actions are not a reflection of my worth. Please grant me patience and resilience to cope with the turmoil. Shield my heart from bitterness and guide me to respond with compassion, even when it is hard. Help me to find my peace in you and not be defined by the dysfunction around me. Lead my family to healing. I pray that the walls of misunderstanding, resentment, and silence may be broken down. Teach us to communicate with love and respect. Bring us together, even if it's just small steps at a time, so we can move toward forgiveness and reconciliation. And for myself, Father, I pray for the courage to set healthy boundaries and prioritize my well-being. Help me to grow into the person you created me to be, despite my circumstances. Remind me that I am not alone, that you are my refuge and my strength. Thank you for your unwavering love and grace. I trust that you will guide me through this, holding my hand and giving me hope for a brighter tomorrow. Amen.
Because I am unearthing, a lot of things are coming up to me now. A lot of my childhood trauma that I had suppressed. And now that I'm doing this work and this practice, it's all coming back to me. Well, not everything, but a lot of things are coming back to me that I had suppressed for whatever reason, maybe emotional trauma or something that I thought, Gloria, to survive this life, forget about that. And I realized that I've put a lot of things aside. I've suppressed it till sometimes when it's coming up, I actually feel physical pain. And I was sharing with one of my colleagues yesterday. We went to lunch, one of my daughters, Sheba's sisters, and I said to her, that sometimes when these things are, when I'm unearthing all these things, when these things are coming up, when I'm bringing them back to me, present Gloria, I actually feel physical pain, because that's how traumatic these experiences were for me during my childhood. So can any of you relate to this? Have any of you had these experiences? Does it ring any bells? Have you suppressed it? Let us know in the comments.
Parenting styles fall into 4 different and identifiable styles: authoritarian, indulgent, authoritative, and uninvolved. Let's examine them more closely. The first parenting style is that of the authoritarian mother. These mothers are like army commanders. They issue commands and orders to their children and fully expect them to carry them out without a question. Such mothers, authoritarians, do not welcome nor appreciate any feedback from their children. They live by set and defined rules in a structured environment. The author goes on to say that these children are generally considered to have an unhappy nature about them. Boys generally exhibit hostile behavior when dealing with frustration, whereas girls tend to give up easily when faced with difficult situations. Both boys and girls, however, tend to perform better in school due to their disciplined upbringing. The second parenting style is the indulgent mother, who is generally lenient. She will allow a variety of behaviors by her children that some would describe as immature. Essentially, they let the children look after themselves and avoid confronting them at all costs. Indulgent mothers may also be described as non-directive or democratic. A non-directive parent is known to parent by default, that is, by taking virtually no action in parenting of their children. A democratic parent, though lenient, are more aware and show a commitment to engage with their children. The third parenting style is that of the authoritative mother, who is both demanding and responsive at the same time. Authoritative parents, while expecting their children to behave in a certain manner, don't impose their authority and welcome a certain amount of questioning. Authoritative mothers demonstrate a combination of assertiveness coupled with the ability to respond to their children's feedback. These children appear to be more lively and have a happier disposition about them. Their self-confidence is more developed. They seem to be more sure of their abilities. These children also show better emotional control and are more adept in their social skills. Gender stereotypes are also less of an issue with authoritative parents, as they tend to be more open-minded in their outlook towards children's behavior. That is, boys playing with dolls or girls playing with tools, for example. Lastly, we look at the parenting style known as an uninvolved parent. As the name suggests, a mother who is uninvolved is simply uninvolved. She's neither demanding nor responsive of her children, and she's not interested in any feedback from them. Such a mother is most likely to be irresponsible and more often neglect her children. Which one or combination?
The term now used, there's actually been lots of studies on families, and now the term now used to describe my family is dysfunctional. A dysfunctional family dynamic. That's what's used to describe, or we have been placed in a category. This term is usually used and characterized by conflict, abuse, neglect, negative actions, misbehavior, addictions, all of which I can relate to. A childhood A child's emotional needs being met? Those are modern days style of parenting. A child's emotional needs being met? What was that? That was non-existent in my childhood. I did as I was told. I was seen but not heard. And this was not just with my parents. This was all the major adults in my life, aunties, grandparents, uncles, any major adult involved in my life. That was my parents only. That was their style of raising children. It was their way of doing things. It was their way or the highway. Because some persons or some of my cousins had to take the highway because they did not conform to the standards that our family had with regards to their behaviors and what they should do or should not do. Of course, this is my personal experience, as you know. And so I also had many friends who they had the opposite experience to me. I had lots of friends who, they, in my eyes, I envied their family. I envied their household because things that they were able to experience and grow and develop in, I didn't have that experience. And so, I know it doesn't relate, everyone can't relate to this, but this is something that happens to quite a lot of persons in their childhood. But in latter years, I came to realize that this was a cycle in our family history. And I decided, Gloria, that this cycle ended with me. If you've had a similar experience, what was your reaction? How did you handle this when you realized what was happening? How did you overcome when you realized that this was happening to you? What things did you put into play? What did you do to say, well, you know what? Is it what I know and I'll continue? Or accept and pass on to my kids? Or did you make a decision to do otherwise? What was your reaction?
Dear God, I praise your name for our children. I am so thankful for the opportunity to come before you for wisdom and guidance. Help us to be sensitive to our children's needs and frustration. Help them to seek truth and to be bold even when it's hard. Lastly, keep their minds focused on what's most important, and that's deep within. Thank you, God.
This impact, I thought, the cycle I thought was unnatural. I realized that when I compared my family life to others, I realized this was not the norm, this was not natural. But what did this family experience have on me, though, in my adult years? How did it impact my adult years? How did it impact your adult years if this was your experience, like just similar to mine? Based on my personal experience, this is what I find that the impacts were on me. I had low self-esteem, first and foremost. Definitely had low self-esteem. I felt like I was never enough. And the emotional support, as I said before, was non-existent. Lack of encouragement, lack of I can do it support wasn't there. Yes, Gloria, you got this, you can do it. That wasn't there. Didn't have that encouragement, didn't have that support. Anxiety and depression too, because I kept feeling stressed in all areas of my life when I became an adult. The least little thing I felt like, no, I can't do this. And I got stressed because I didn't have that emotional support coming up. So I got depressed easily, I got anxious easily, and I got stressed quite easily because these things did not come natural to me.
Learning from the wisdom and experiences of women is like inheriting a legacy of strength and resilience. As Maya Angelou once said, I am a woman phenomenally, phenomenal woman, That's me. Her words remind us that every woman's experience carries profound wisdom, waiting to be shared. The experiences of women aren't just stories, they're lessons in courage, perseverance, resilience, and the power of community. When we listen, we learn, and when we learn, we grow. So today, let's continue to celebrate and learn from the incredible journeys of women.
Also, I had difficulty forming healthy relationships because the pattern that was before me, the pattern that I grew up seeing was not healthy. So I too had difficulty forming healthy relationships. And of course, conflict avoidance was a major thing for me too. Anything, I just gave in because I just couldn't go through that trauma again, that stress again of being in conflict. So I just did anything to avoid a conflict, even if it meant diminishing myself, making myself smaller. I gave into conflict avoidance. Also, another thing I developed was perfectionism. I felt like I always had to be perfect at what I did because, of course, I always felt like I wasn't enough. So because of that, now I developed a habit of perfectionism, where everything I did had to be 100% perfect. And that's a spin-off from the slow self-esteem and all the other issues I had. And a major thing, and I underlined this in my research, was my need to try and please others always. Being a people pleaser, because of course you wanted to please your parents, you want to please your family members, you hope to get a little praise from them. And so you went all out to please the other persons around you in all aspects of your life, whether it be your friends, your family members, your work colleagues, wherever you went. Your aim was to please everyone else because, you know, the spin-off, you're not enough, you can't do it. You just felt like I had to please everybody else to gain acceptance. It just spins off from being in a dysfunctional family unit. It spins off and it just spiral basically because of all of these issues. And this is what I find, that it's just like a cycle, like a domino effect. Of course, you know, lack of encouragement in school as well. You know, lack of motivation. You didn't do as well as you would have wanted to. But what I did take away though from this experience, and what I did take away from my reflections, my meditative practices, and just going back and just seeing the impact all of these things had on my life as an adult, what I did do, I really had a serious conversation with my mom. My dad had passed by then. I had a serious conversation with my mother to get to the root of this. And you know what? She didn't know any better. She just continued the cycle from her parents too, and all of those around her. That was their style of parenting, and it just continued. And you know, I had to have serious words with her. I said, "Mom, how could you?" You know, but she didn't know it differently. You know, she didn't cuddle, she didn't hug, she didn't say, "I love you." Those were not things that they did. And I thought, wow. You know, I talked to my other cousins and I said, my gosh. And they too admit that they felt a lot of the things I felt, and they too decided to break the cycle as well. So I said to my mom, there's no way I'm going to raise my kids like this. No way. They had to get love, feel love, be loved, because that's the most important thing to a child. Love is one of the key factors in any child's upbringing. Feeling wanted, being encouraged, you can do it. And if you didn't do it so great, fine, we still love you just the same. Even if you did not achieve that goal, hey, you're still loved, you're still wanted, you're still needed, you're still appreciated. That is the style that I used for my parenting. I was adamant I was not going to repeat the cycle. and I just had to break it. But I know that dysfunctional families come in all shapes and forms. It surpasses cultures, it surpasses geographics, it surpasses financial statuses. These things happen in all aspects, all stratas of life, all cultures, everywhere. Lots of persons have great experiences in their childhood, and I'm saying it's not everyone, it's not all of us, but some of us do. And the most important thing, one of the most important things for me was that I was able to recognize it, accept it, and make a change. Those were the important factors for me. Recognizing, accepting, and deciding to make a change. And we can all overcome and be the change in our families' lives. Thank you.
Every child needs a guiding star. Today's mothers are more than caregivers. They are change makers. They nurture, educate, and inspire the next generation. Through compassion and understanding, they foster resilience. Mothers instill values that help build strong character. They advocate for health, wellness, and emotional intelligence. Parenting today requires adaptability and foresight. Mothers teach their children the importance of empathy. They encourage exploration and creativity. Through open communication, they build trust. In times of uncertainty, mothers are the anchor. They lead by example, showing strength in adversity. Together, mothers empower children to confidently face the world. The legacy of a mother is a brighter future for all.